much too complex, much too complex, too complex, too complex, too complex.
Good afternoon. My name is James K. Holder II. Some of you may know me as Sir James II, and I'd like to welcome you back to Not on My Watch. As always, I'd like to ask you to like, subscribe, comment, and share. I want you to retweet this and repeat this. If you're watching, today is Thursday, January 18th, 2018. Happy New Year. And today marks the 364th day since Donald Trump took the office of the White House of the United States. Sadly, this also means that we have at least 1,097 days left until he can be voted out and then have a successor inaugurated in his place. As a part of the one-year commemorative effort for Donald Trump, the New York Times has chosen to run a rather controversial editorial series. And this is, instead of writing op-eds, which were terrible anyway, by the way, they decided, what the hell, we're just going to print letters from Trump supporters in a form they call Trump Voters 1 Year In. All I can say is no thank you, because I don't need to hear from more Trump voters. The constant reminder, the constant belaboring of the value of the downtrodden, white working class, Rust Belt, it gets to a point where there's a very clear message that the mainstream media has been trying to tell us for a while. And I've discussed it here on this show over both previous seasons, but it really is coming to a head where there are some who are beginning to learn the lessons and take on the understanding of what actually transpired in this country on November 8th, 2016, and some who simply aren't interested. If there were Trump voters who were able to articulate an argument based on some even thin, gossamer layer of interwebbed facts, I would be somewhat interested in hearing what they had to say. That's not what we get with these editorials. That's not what we get with these interviews. That's not what we get with these specials and town halls. And, there is no willingness for the collective conscience in America to confront what has been done wrong and what misgivings have been done and just really take account for that and walk some of it back. No one's trying to do that. What also pissed me off about the New York Times article is that they intentionally sort of skirted it as, oh, well, of course we're liberal and we're really hard on Trump, but we feel like this is a good opportunity to listen to the other side. No, because you still employ Maggie Haberman. You still employ people who viciously attacked Hillary Clinton about emails. You still employ people who essentially, you can't have someone write an opinion article against climate change, saying that you think climate change isn't real. These are the types of things that New York Times has been doing. They've just been towing that line of the GOP narratives. They've been pulling right from their script book, and it really is something that needs to be addressed, it needs to be stopped, and it can't be supported anymore. So, in addition to unsubscribing from the New York Times, if you had a paid subscription, I really would beseech all of you to take it upon yourself to be more direct in confronting this stuff in your daily. Like, if you feel as though the constant barrage of voices from Trump's America, and now mind you, I'm not fully black-hearted yet. I read a few of the letters, and at some point, these people were just repeating Trump lies. This is what I experienced in 2016 in trying to discuss, politics with the rest of the electorate. there were many people who just were not open to actual facts. They just repeated lines over and over and over again. It's the same thing, the same sentence structure, the same cadence as you see with Trump or Trump surrogates online. They just latch onto something that they like, it sounds good, and they just keep going with it. And that's a form of brainwashing. I was actually further disgusted to see certain liberal, and these are, when I say liberal with the air quotes, I'm talking about people who claim to be on the side of progress now, but basically have remained silent throughout this whole situation. Many people were, posting the New York Times links on Twitter saying, "Oh, I think, I'm definitely anti-Donald Trump, but we should give what these people have to say a chance." No, because they're only saying what Donald Trump's propaganda arm is paying to have flood the airwaves, or what mainstream media is giving him free airway to promote. So, no, I've heard it before. If you have a new argument to make or a new position, we can revisit that. But it's propaganda, and it really is just sort of, at some point, it becomes a form of abuse, because we know this stuff is not true. New York Times, in my opinion, is just lazy now, because there's one thing to kind of say, okay, we're going to string together some aspects of these letters into a piece. They didn't even do that. They just reprinted these letters in plain sight. Took them right off somebody's email and put them here. But ultimately, again, this is literally just scripted lines at this point, because if someone's watching on TV where Donald Trump says he's a stable genius, and then this person from wherever you're from, you write into the New York Times and you say, "I like Donald Trump because he's a stable genius and he has a good brain." Okay, but we've heard him say that before. So this is not even from this person's perspective, it's just a repetition. And I think that we have to have checks and balances within all branches of our government, and assuming that the press is the fourth branch of that government, we really do need an active check on propaganda. We need an active check on the truth, an active check on facts. We don't really get that with most of our larger news media organizations, and certainly not the New York Times. So they are effectively canceled in my book. The United States is potentially heading into a government shutdown, which is kind of sad. It's unfortunate because it means a lot of people will go unpaid for a undetermined amount of time. And it also means that it will close a lot of facilities. People like me who need to get their passports renewed, that process will be halted. So, it's not ideal. There are a lot of, specifics behind it. It has to do with the wall and the DACA bill, and also the budget. So we'll see where it goes. The Democrats are basically steadfast on not supporting any bill that does not come with a clean DREAM Act, and that is commendable. That's good. But the Republicans really have enough power to just sort of do whatever they want to do at this point, but they don't want to really be the only ones tied to these budgets, to these acts that are coming down from the White House. And when it's coupled with all of the previous and recent comments and statements by the president, which I won't repeat here. Note I am wearing my fully embroidered shirt that I got from Liberia. It is interesting that you have now more resistance to kind of lean in and really go along with Donald Trump. I really did believe when those comments were made last week that was more of a tipping point for everyone. They spent about a week or a little over a week denying that he even said it. It culminated in yesterday or day before yesterday, Cory Booker in the meeting or the hearing with the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Nielsen, And it boiled over into this somewhat emotional. I would not consider this emotional. I would not consider Cory to have been, or sorry, Senator Booker to have been irate at that point. But it immediately turned into this tone policing of Cory Booker. They've tried to rope him into the Me Too argument. We have this situation where the problems before us are really clear cut, right? Healthcare, children's health insurance program, that's probably the easiest one. If you renew it for 10 years, it will pay for itself. Why is there not just, that should be a no-brainer. That should not be tied to something else. It shouldn't have to be debated or belabored because it's something that everybody wants. Republicans and Democrats want this. The Dreamers, Republicans and Democrats favor supporting the Dreamers. So why are these things being used as ploys for this stupid wall that even most Republicans in my mind don't want? I don't know the statistics on what Republicans want. Frankly, I don't really care what Republicans want. But you can't tell me you're going to cut all this money from a tax bill that you pass and then try to grab it up from somewhere else to build this stupid wall. That makes no sense. Another thing to look out for, and this is really crucial for 2018, is going to be today, Thomas Farr moved on in consideration to being a federal court district judge. And so, and this is someone from North Carolina. He has a history of racism in his policy. So he defended voter ID laws in North Carolina. Now, you know, North Carolina has one of the most restrictive voting policies in the country. They are gerrymandered to within an inch of their life. There are so many specifically targeted, racially motivated ways that they disenfranchise black voters. It really is a spectacle. And in addition to voter ID laws and gerrymandering, which the Supreme Court recently demanded that they have to redraw those districts, I want to say that's going to happen within the next 2 weeks. You also had this man who, when in the early 90s, he was an attorney for and defended Jesse Helms, Senator Jesse Helms, who then sent 100,000 postcards to black North Carolina voters, giving them the improper information about what they needed to be able to show up and vote, and then also warning them and threatening them about 5 years of jail time for voter fraud if you mess up. So this is a form of intimidation. It's another form of disenfranchisement based on race. Mr. Farr actually tried this case, well, not tried it, but he defended Helms then in the 90s and lost, of course. So there's a documented record. And you couple someone like him with Jeff Sessions, and you really do see this strong pattern of trying to really, really, really focus on disenfranchising black voters. And we talk about this all the time. We talk about why that is, why they're targeting this particular group of voters. But it really is sad. And just to make it really clear, because I'm constantly telling you that you don't have friends over there on the GOP side, Grassley, Hatch, Graham, Cornyn, Lee, Cruz, Sass, Flake, Crapo, Tillis, and Kennedy all voted for this man to be approved to serve in a lifetime appointment. So just to the bench. So this is where we are. The Congressional Black Caucus, of course, protested and was adamantly against this. Reverend Dr. William Barber, led protests and has been very, very, very actively against this. And what's also important to note is that Farr was one of 17 nominees confirmed today. To move on today. So it really is an aggressive and sweeping reality when it comes to the courts. We, as the Democrats and the resistance, we can do a lot when it comes to calling our senators, calling our representatives. We can do a lot when it comes to protesting. We can't do much when it comes to executive orders. We can't do much when it comes to the Supreme Court itself. And certainly, when you see those lower court decisions and what there are as many seats as he's stacking with these young guys who just have a penchant for disenfranchising black voters, it really is something to be frightened by. And it's something that we need to be aware of and focused on when it comes to executing our blue wave in November. Now, and there's going to be, of course, a lot of primaries. I know specifically in the Georgia governor's race, there's a primary, I believe, I don't quote me on this, I believe it's May 23rd, but I will double check that and make sure that I put the right information at the bottom of the video. But that's going to be one of the really big races that I follow here because we have Stacie Abrams, who in Georgia, she was the highest ranking Democrat in the state of Georgia. And so now she's running to be the governor. And if she wins, she would be the first black female governor and possibly the first black governor of Georgia, actually. So that's actually kind of a big deal. So, and again, it's not about voting for her because she's black, but you know, she's talented, she's qualified. She has been really in the trenches with the folks who are down here working to make sure that voters are empowered, voters are informed, voters are able to access the ballot. And that is one of my big focuses on this show. Which you all for supporting me over the break. It was a challenging few weeks of hiatus between the closing of the Twitter account and some other challenges that came up. It has just been rough. I'm actually just getting over a bit of a cold myself, so to even be talking for this long I'm surprised I'm able to talk this long. I've got tea today instead of coffee, and I definitely want to thank all of you who support the show as friends of the show by donating at least $1 to the link above, www.paypal.me/JKH2. Those are Kristen C., Tina T., Jacqueline K., Elizabeth C. Special shout out to Elizabeth C., who every single week this year has made a donation to the shows. And I will tell you, I was not recording new episodes. I had posted the one video. You'll see later, I had been doing a lot of stuff around the studio to gear up because I want to launch a few other shows over the course of the year and possibly bring in some outside talent and start coaching people to make their own online content. So there was a lot of going on, moving around over the break. Elizabeth C., you from day one, you were the first donor to the show ever. And over this entire break, you have been there. You have been my rock. So thank you so much. Melissa B., Douglas A., Archel B., Barry G., Daniel M., Karen I., Faye M., Debra S., Laura V., Alison L., Rachel S., Michelle M., and also Starr W. So again, if you'd like to become a friend of the show, you can just donate $1 or more to paypal.me/JKH2. You can also visit my Amazon link, which has studio stuff that I kind of need still, like I need more batteries, I need a couple more lights, different things to kind of just round out all the shows and make them ultimately better moving forward. And so without further ado, I would like to again welcome you into the new year. I'd like to ask you to just make sure that you are prepared because we have a long year ahead of us. This is not going to be an easy year. It did not start out easy for me. It's going to be a daily challenge, and we have to remain focused. We have to be able to keep each other motivated. We have to remain inspired, and we have to hold on to something greater than that we see before ourselves as our challenges or our opportunities. We have to be expansive. And so I am, as always, signing off, calling on you to relax, relate, and resist. Thank you.